following contains adult language and poorly impersonates celebrity voices and parodies. Listener discretion is advised.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special TDYK where our co-hosts got better looking. We upgraded, John.
We sure did. Today we've got Magister, Kevin Slaughter of the Church of Satan, guest hosting today with us. And he's brought on a very special guest. Let him introduce him. Kevin?
No, absolutely. I'm really excited to introduce my friend Daniel Melendez. And Daniel is a music journalist in Medellin, Colombia. And he's also, I am in a great debt to this man as well. And anybody who is a Satanist and reads Spanish also, Daniel was one of my two lead translators on Las Escrituras Satánicas, the Spanish language translation of Peter H. Gilmore's book, The Satanic Scriptures. And he and I were in pretty much daily contact for over a year. And you would think that I had learned some Spanish over that year, but
no.
Español, un poquito. So, but
es la biblioteca.
There you go. So this whole Marduk thing. Now, Marduk, I'm sure. So Daniel, you're a podcaster. You're a music journalist. What else am I missing here?
A psychologist.
A psychologist. Oh. There you go. Well, so he does psychology on the side too, but mostly heavy metal podcast, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my other what to call it? I don't know, job, occupation, hobby, work,
passion. Yeah.
Passion. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yes.
There you go. That's awesome. I always see you online interviewing bands and stuff like that. So I'll let John. I'll try. I'm not going to take over the interview. John, go ahead, take it away.
It's your show, right. Kevin. You do what you want.
We're totally interested.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know more about it than we do. Just essentially.
Yeah, no. So basically, I'm chatting with Daniel online, and so Marduk. I'm sure most of your viewers are going to know. I mean, what person watching this podcast would not know who Marduk was, right? I mean, they're pretty well known, and
who's Marduk?
Satanist, right? Would not know. Oh, maybe there's somebody on this podcast wasn't entirely sure who they were.
I don't know who Marduk. Look, I didn't know who Marduk was.
That's fine. I know.
Didn't hit my radar. Sorry.
Yeah.
I do, so we're good. We're 100% in.
I was busy listening to Coldplay. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
That's all right, Belle Biv DeVoe. Anyway, So Marduk, obviously, they're controversial worldwide wherever they play. They're a Swedish black metal band, and here in the States, they get boycotted by Antifa and so on and so forth like that. Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, they before Colombia, they were supposed to be in Guatemala, and they got banned. Is that correct?
No, actually they were playing in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and then they were supposed to go to Panama, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico. But the whole tour was messed up because of some interference from some of our traditional Christian fanatics that always try to fuck things up. So everything was okay until they arrived to Ecuador. And then in Ecuador, all hell broke loose, literally. And actually, it started with a senator in Guatemala. A Christian senator in Guatemala who, I don't know, one perhaps some assistant or something, gave him a hold of the band, told him something like, this band Marduk from Sweden is going to play here. They are satanic and blasphemous, and well, you get the idea. So this senator started the whole thing set, and there was a councilman in Bogota who started to denounce the satanic nature of the band, and basically the shows in Quito, Bogota, Panama, and El Salvador were all canceled.
Oh,
and,
wow.
I mean,
So
yes.
now the you said it was the council. Okay, Marco Fidel Ramirez, is he the
Marco,
senator or is he the councilman? Okay, so Marco Fidel Ramirez, is it a political party he has or just some sort of like just organization?
No, he has this political party, a Christian political party. I mean, he's the leader of the Christian vote in Bogota, which we are talking about a city of 10 million people, and you know, this guy has a lot of voters behind him. So basically, he started. Well, you know, the sad thing is that at the beginning, no one took him seriously. He started to denounce Marduk in one of the town council sessions, and the video got viral, and his speech was actually used by the promoter to promote the show of Marduk. Yeah, it was very funny because he was like, "No Marduk in Bogota, no Marduk," and through the magic of video edition, it was something like Marduk in Bogota, Marduk in Bogota. It was very funny, but people thought that he was a clown. People thought that he could not get away with it, and the problem is that I think everyone here underestimated this guy and underestimated the amount of power he had.
Pretty snazzy white jacket that he wears, so he's got a pretty good looking white denim jacket that he seems to be fond of. So he's draping himself in in these pure white colors, denouncing Marduk, at city council.
The good guy badge.
Yes, because he's a self-proclaimed councilman for family values. So you get an idea.
So it's just a matter of time before we find like he's fucking a dog or something like that, pretty much. It's just a matter of time before he's like fucking kids or a dog or something like that.
And the dog's name is Marduk.
It's a matter of time. But the thing is that no one thought that he could do something, right? And then all of a sudden, the local authorities from Bogota are shutting down venues, are looking through documentation and papers, and the band was almost was this close to be deported to Sweden.
Oh wow!
Because there was some kind of legal issues with the documentations and the visas and all of that. The band the promoter was not able to find another venue willing to hold the show, right? So they were forced to book a different venue outside of Bogota.
Oh wow!
Because if they played in Bogota, there was gonna be hell. And at the last minute, Marduk decided not to play.
Okay, so
to avoid a potential international incident.
Sure. So
Ramirez,
councilman from Bogota. So it was really the whole drama started with him, and people didn't take him seriously at first, but it's sort of like the dominoes began to fall, and other Latin American countries kind of fell in line.
Well. Actually, it started in Guatemala. Yeah, this is something like I don't want to sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist, but the domino pieces fell in from Guatemala all the way down South America. Like it first started in Guatemala, then El Salvador, then Panama, then Colombia, right, and then Chile.
Chain of events,
In Chile, And Ecuador.
That's great, because I'm drawing a point on every one of those countries that you said, and it makes a pentagram. It's really weird.
Yeah. Yes, definitely, yes.
Well, let me ask you a question. As I've seen plenty of black metal bands live that can come to the States anyways, but a lot of them really get bands like Gorgoroth made a lot of noise just from their eccentric live show with sheep's heads and stuff like that. Does Marduk do anything as far as their live show that would draw that much attention, or is it strictly just a lyrical thing that causes this much problem?
Lyrical and image.
The image.
Yeah. Because when all this thing got viral, what happened was that these Christian activists were going to national radio broadcasting to debate in public. So basically, Marduk, I mean, not even Metallica, not even Iron Maiden got the coverage and the exposure Marduk had. It was a matter of national interest. Can you believe that? I mean, it sounds silly. But everybody knew.
Hopefully, it's selling more albums.
Yeah,
of course. And you can imagine the shows were all sold out a week before the date, right? So these guys were going to radio stations, they were going to newspapers, they were going to TV shows to denounce the band because of the lyrics and because of the image, but mostly because of the lyrics. First, because they were offensive to Jesus, they were offensive to God, and because they were.
That's what we like about them.
People. Of course, and the whole point is, of course, it is offensive. So these guys were like, well, you know, we're not against black metal. You can play your black metal, but please, why do you have to be offensive to Jesus?
And it's kind of the point of the music,
that's
right?
the whole point. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Like, of course, it is offensive.
Yeah.
Of course, it
black
has
metal
to be
music
offensive.
about puppies and. Yeah.
Let me say this.
No, perhaps about.
What?
Perhaps about trees and about polar bears and about whales and
pretty stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, green frostbitten mountains. Yes.
Yeah, I gotta
snow
say this.
metal. Snow metal.
I gotta say this. I don't, and I apologize to all the viewers that found out that I don't know who Marduk was. Sorry, but I don't know much about this situation, so I don't have much to say about it, other than the fact that all those countries that you mentioned have the most beautiful women coming out of them, dude. I just gotta say that.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yes, we know.
Carry on, guys.
Well, okay, so obviously one of the big things about South America and Latin America is that they tend to be Catholic-dominated countries, and Colombia is certainly no different, right? I think some 80% of Colombians are Catholic.
Is something like that, yes.
Yeah. And so
the interesting thing here is that, well, you know, if you take these countries in these countries where all this shit happened, you find something very interesting, and this is Colombia, Ecuador, El Salvador, and Guatemala are the Latin American countries with the highest level of corruption, of political corruption, and these are the countries, I mean, higher than Chile or Argentina or Costa Rica. And it is not a coincidence that Christian movements are getting more and more power over the last few years, right? So basically, Catholics were here in Colombia are not that fanatic anymore. No, not really.
Well, I don't know if maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe that's the problem here in the U.S. That's why they, they can't really stop a band anymore for being blasphemous, and now when Marduk comes here, they try to stop them for some kind of like Nazi ties or something like that. It's one way or another they're going to try to find a way. The Christian angle doesn't really work here anymore, but
it's still
thanks Satan for that.
It's still the fervor is still of a religious nature here in the United States. They just use
absolutely
secular terms to shield their religiosity, that Antifa, et cetera. I mean, there's only two groups that I've ever seen boycott a music event, and that's Antifa and Christians, evangelical Christians. And so as far as I'm concerned, I mean, those two both have the same kind of fanatical, delusional religiosity about
like Christian justice warriors now, then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And their faith is both based around a heaven in the hereafter and not the here and now. So anyway, but that's a bit of a digression that certainly could just get us all in trouble these days. Sure. But Daniel, let me step back a little bit, and I want to talk about some of the podcasts you do, because I as little Spanish as I know, I do enjoy watching. So there's you do one podcast with a local, like it's like a heavy metal music store. It's called what, Bomber Store? Just Telemomia?
Yeah. The store is called Bomber Store, and the podcast is called Telemomia. It's something like Telemummy, as in the Egyptian mummies.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in some regions of South America, metalheads are being called momias, which means mummies, because they are all green and serious.
Those are dead inside.
I know it sounds silly in English. Yes, I know, but you get an idea.
Spanish in Colombia still has an edge, right? That's cool.
Yes.
No, I mean, but that's one of the things when working on the Las Escrituras Satanicas project that we discussed a lot is regional differences just within Spanish. I mean, there's certainly not just one Spanish, and there's all kinds of regional differences and stuff like that. And watching these discussions was absolutely fascinating for me. And luckily, most of those discussions that all the people involved in the project did their best to have the discussions as much as possible in English for my benefit, so I could watch along. That was very, very kind of them. But I mean, there's actually, I think there's even a title of one of the essays that changed from the hardback to the paperback, and we were still having discussions on what the exact best term to use. Anyway, and that's basically Telemomia is basically kind of a record review podcast.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
It's the podcast is kind of like a record reviews, where you just talk about different albums and stuff, right?
Yes,
but,
yes.
So the other one I want to talk to you, you have a compatriot, Roman Gonzalez, I believe.
Roman Gonzalez. Roman Gonzalez.
I didn't roll that R.
Roman.
Yes.
So,
Roman.
Is that Familia Subterránea?
Yeah, Familia Subterránea, which translates something like underground family.
There you go. Hey, I know one or two things. All right. I learned
Pequito.
It wasn't a stretch.
Muy pequito.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I picked up watching Familia Subterránea was El Vieco. Todos por
El Vieco. El Vieco. Todos por el Vieco.
Yeah, so everybody for El Vieco. Now, El Vieco was a Colombian musician, and tell us about the guy.
The guy was a musician, was a music composer of traditional Colombian music and classical music. He lived in Medellin here. Died, I think, in 1973 or 1974. He was one of the most prolific Colombian composers, right?
Yeah.
I think he has a record, a national record of the guy with the most compositions out there, right? So his family was rich because of his music, and they tried to do a monument to commemorate his legacy, and the monument happened to be a theater, like an open air theater, similar to these old Roman or Greek theaters, which were built in the mountain, in the mountainside, in the shape of a, what's the name? A house cycle.
Oh, it was an open air theater, and the seats were carved out, or it's concrete set into like a hillside or something like that, right? And that was called, and that was El Vieco.
Yes, Teatro Carlos Vieco. Teatro Carlos Vieco, which was built in the early 80s. The first time that was used was in 1982, and the theater was going on and on and on as it turned out as a mecca for rock and metal bands here in Medellin.
Nice.
Yes. It was something like if you had a band, one of your dreams was to play there in El Vieco.
El Vieco was like the CBGBs for metal in Colombia, right?
Yep.
Well, some of it because the CBGBs was a bar, right? But yeah.
The Carnegie Hall. The Carnegie Hall.
Yeah. No. The Carnegie Hall, yes.
The Carnegie Hall.
There you go. Carnegie Hall.
Roman.
Yes. Yeah. And Roman Gonzalez is a show promoter, so he had a festival over there. And the last time El Vieco was open to the public was with his festival. There were some, I don't know if this is a political issue or not, but I'll try to resume.
All right, let's hear another one of your conspiracy theories, Daniel.
Okay, no, this is not a conspiracy.
Let me get my tin hat.
There is a festival in Medellin called Altavoz, which is a free for all festival. I mean, you don't have to pay money to get in the festival because it is paid with a public
subsidized by the state.
Tax money. Tax money, yes.
Sweet.
Yes. And the Altavoz began in 2005, right? So, but this kind of turned out into a political mafia, yeah. So Roman tried to it was a political mafia because not every. I mean, you got to see the same bands every year the same bands. So Roman tried to open a different.
It's never Marduk, was it?
No. But we have had Creator, Destruction, Behemoth, Sepultura, yes, in Altavoz, DSI, Asphyx, who else? Satyricon last year in Altavoz. So it is kind of a huge festival, right?
Steel Panther?
No, not yet.
I know.
One day, hopefully. Hopefully.
That'd be sweet.
We wish, yes. We wish to have Steel Panther here. Yeah. So what Roman tried to do was a parallel festival, free for all, but not with tax money, but with money raised with promotion and advertising and all of that. So this guy, in 4 years, achieved more than the local township with the Altavoz. So the new administration, the new town administration, closed the theater in 2014.
The government.
If you go to El Vieco, the government closed the place. Yeah, and it is I mean, if you get around the place, have you seen this show? I don't know what's the name in English. The Earth Without Humans.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Life After Humans.
Yeah.
Well, that way. So
Yeah.
you go to El Vieco and you see the theater all. I mean, it is in ruins with grass all over the place and plants and trees growing up between the seats and between the stairs and all of it. It is very sad.
Ghost concerts.
So we are trying to. Yes. So we are trying to raise consciousness around El Vieco as a place in the city which not only has a meaningful past, but also was a point of gathering for young generations for over 30 years.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do something with El Vieco. So that's the reason of Todos por El Vieco.
Todos por Vieco.
And the local mayor has done nothing. He has to leave office next year, and he has done nothing. Nothing about that. So the crazy theory we have is that the local administration is waiting for the theater to collapse so they can build a new one.
Because that's what they're citing. Sort of like when with Marduk, the government didn't shut down Marduk. They brought up all kinds of bullshit reasons why the venue could not be open, right? They shut the venue down for 11 days, citing like licensing or something like that. I mean, typical government bullshit. While there's, the councilman is preaching about family values and Jesus this and Jesus that. The government couldn't get away with shutting it down for religious reasons explicitly, so they made up like that money was owed to somebody and they had to shutter it for like 11 days or something like that. A similar
and did you happen in Panama and El Salvador? Marduk took the coat of arms of these countries and did a little artistic intervention on them. For example, you take the coat of arms of Panama, and it is written Marduk Legions Panama or Marduk Legions Guatemala. So the National Congress of Panama issued a resolution, not because of desecration of the national symbols, but because of unlawful use of intellectual copyright material. So yes.
Wow.
And they told the band like, well, you can play here, but the moment you put a foot in Panama, you have to pay us a fine of $5,000 for using our national symbol without permission.
Royalties, huh?
So basically the show was cancelled, and the Ministry of Labor in Panama had to do some government bullshit to forbid Marduk from playing in Panama. And the same thing happened in Salvador. And we are talking about two countries that happen to have Christian dictatorships during the 80s, evangelical Christian dictatorships, where funny enough, the Catholic Church was the one being persecuted. They were killing priests and all of that. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what is happening right now.
So Daniel, what can Dorian do to help? Because he wants to help out. So what can he do?
Me? I don't know. Well, one of the things I am doing. I mean, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, these four guys whose only weapons are a guitar, a bass, a drum kit and a voice managed to move the political machinery of 3 different countries, right? And I had to write something about it. So I have this little blog of my own called Crónicas Estigias, and I wrote 2 pieces about what is happening in Colombia and what is happening in Latin America. And in a matter of 48 hours, the blog had more than 5,000 readers, spreading the text, I think.
Yeah.
So it kind of is raising consciousness. Right now in Guatemala, even though there is a government regulation which is trying to block Marduk from playing the show, yeah, the show is still going. The show is supposed to be held next Thursday, which is the day after tomorrow. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, because the National Congress of Guatemala is trying to persuade the government to put some political, legal bullshit to close a venue or something like that. Yeah. But as of this time, the show is still going. So we are waiting for. Yeah, and I mean this is really
just
fun.
have at your house.
Is... What?
What?
Just have them around.
Have them play at your house.
House party.
No. Yeah, there's a lot of noise here. Yeah, there is a lot of noise. Let me check something.
Oh, I think Marduk.
It's Marduk, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
It's Marduk, man. They're coming over.
Trashing the living
Yes,
room.
Marduk is here. Marduk is here in my living room making noise. So the guys in Marduk were very concerned because they were afraid to be deported. And if they get deported back to Sweden, well, that will be a goodbye to the world tour that they are doing right now. You have to excuse my pronunciation, my English is a bit rusty lately.
No.
It's okay. My Spanish isn't very good. The only thing I know is te quiero hacer el amor contigo esta noche.
Okay, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Which is the same thing, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a very useful.
That's the only thing I need to know, right? That's it.
Yes. It's like going to Germany and all everything you have to learn to say in Germany is noch ein Bier bitte.
Or book ditch. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Bend over. That's it. All right.
Yeah, so that's the landscape in Latin America right now for censorship and
But they love Iron Maiden though. Iron Maiden is big all over the place.
Yes, they do. Maiden all over the place.
Yeah.
Funny thing. You know what's the funny thing? You know there is this other Swedish band called Dark Funeral, right?
Mm-hmm.
They played in Bogota 2 months ago in front of 70,000 people.
Wow, really?
Where was this councilman? I mean, they didn't see Dark Funeral. They didn't see 70,000 people in Bogota going to a show.
70,000? That's like a Garth Brooks concert.
Yes, because Dark Funeral was the headliner of a festival called Rock al Parque, which is the largest festival in Colombia.
Nice.
Right? Yeah. So this year we had Dark Funeral, Dark Tranquility, and can't remember whom else. Some of the bands, don't remember. And the point is that right now, so this day, today, I mean, I was supposed to be on a national radio show tonight talking about this whole Marduk thing because Christian activists in Bogota are now claiming that the cancellation of Marduk in Bogota is some kind of a triumph for them and a triumph for God and a triumph for Jesus. So they contact me and they ask me like, well, you know, these Christian activists are saying that this is a triumph for their God. Do you wish to be on a public debate with these Christians activists? So I said, okay, of course, sure. Send them in But somehow the invitation was cancelled and the debate is not happening, right? But the funny thing is, I mean, where was God when the people were praying in front of 70,000 people? I mean, what was God doing? I mean, looking, expecting, waiting for Marduk, perhaps, because this Marduk shows in Latin America. I mean, they can gather around 200, 300 people, 400 people at the most, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that 3, 4, 5 different governments took issues and took actions to prevent this show from happening. I mean, these 4 guys must be doing something very good or very dangerous for the Christian movements, or the Christian movements have, I mean, they have to do their homework, they have to know their black metal. There are worse bands when it comes to blasphemy, when it comes to profanity, and when it comes to desecration of Jesus and all of that. I mean, Marduk is...
The Christians, what they are is sheep, and you get a political leader and you get somebody that comes, hey, I'm Christian, for the religious right, blah, blah, blah. And they say this thing is bad. And what happens is they don't perform any due diligence. They don't research anything. They just get on board with what this leader has said is the bad thing. And they just, yes, it's bad. Tell everybody it's bad.
You know what, though, the flip side of that is that it's always worked in favor of bands like Kiss and Motley Crue and Marilyn Manson over the years. It's kind of really just helped them.
Well, the story always is there's money to be made.
Yeah.
Right.
There's money to be made, and we are about to begin election year. Mm-hmm. We have elections next year, so these guys are trying to getting as much votes as they can, as much voters as they can. So they are using metal music. I mean, they could use reggaeton. Reggaeton is way worse, right?
It's every way.
That's not even music. But they could forbid reggaeton, which would actually, I would agree with them, but I would support them, yes. But no, they have to take metal. So the good thing is that at least here in Colombia, metalheads are again the bad guys.
Yeah.
So which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I mean making metal sexy and dangerous again. I mean, there's the double-edged sword. If heavy metal became completely
inane.
Yeah, exactly.
Not dangerous.
If it's if metal
make metal dangerous again.
Who gives a shit?
So Kevin, say that again. I think it cut out a little bit.
I said, if heavy metal isn't sexy and dangerous, then who gives a shit? Then it's just like any other kind of mainstream thing. So Marduk is challenging these Christian dictators, and they're being met with resistance, and that's it proves that they're still needed, because these Christians have the power, and Marduk, as Danielle said, it's 4 guys with a couple of instruments and a voice, and they started. Yeah, and people with power are making them international.
Famous.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's something like it's very similar to what happened to Cannibal Corpse with Bob Dole back in 1992, 1993.
Oh yeah.
During the presidential election with Bob Dole back in the day. So there were cartoons here with Marduk saying something like, would you wish to say something? Yeah, thanks to the councilman for the free publicity, for the free advertising. Really, not even Iron Maiden, not even Metallica got this kind of exposure here.
Crazy.
And I think
it's very crazy. It's very ironic.
It's a witch hunt. They're singling them out. It's just a witch hunt.
Yes.
And so
we are living our own little satanic panic 36 years after you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Nice.
you guys had a little bit of revenge, I believe, around September 30th on Blasphemy Rights Day, if you had mentioned.
Oh yeah, the Blasphemathon. Yes. The Blasphemathon. What? I mean, in Spanish is Blasphemathon. I am not sure how to say that in English. Blasphemathon?
Blasphemy.
Blasphemathon.
But
Blasphemathon.
Is
Blasphemy Marathon.
they turned it into.
Blasphemy Marathon.
Yeah. Okay.
So you guys so there was a coordinated effort to post the most blasphemous images online and then on any social media tag Councilman Gonzalez in it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Wow, I'm surprised you guys got a hold of that. I'm really surprised. Yes, but you know what? It was not meant to be a coordinated thing. I mean, I gave the idea over one of the podcasts, and people actually liked it. And lo and behold, there was, I mean, hundreds of people doing this, tagging the councilman, and I was very, very surprised and very, very flattered. I did not think for 1 minute that crazy idea could actually happen. So this guy, and I know for a fact that not only on social media, there were some people that actually sent mail to the councilman office in Bogota with very tasteful pictures.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that, and the artwork, and the artwork for "Fuck Me Jesus," which is iconic. And
I had to teach a millennial how to use a fucking piece of mail the other day. He had no idea. He'd never put a single letter. He'd never put a stamp on a letter and put a letter in the mailbox. This is 20s at least.
What's a fucking stamp?
Yeah. It never had a reason.
Yeah.
How do you get this on my computer?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I can't. I'm out of questions now.
I never had one. Just didn't know much about it. Yeah. No, this is interesting.
This is very interesting, actually.
Very.
Yeah, and from a satanic point of view, I think, I mean, I still can't get into my head how was it possible? I mean, these 4 guys, I bet they never thought they would manage to bring upon themselves the whole political machinery, 5 different countries. That's gotta count for something. I mean, not many people can achieve that.
Right place at the right time.
Yeah. I think not even Adolf, not even Adolf achieved that. I mean, Adolf never had a guitar.
Yeah.
Never had a guitar.
He had the voice, so.
Yeah, and
it's a theatrical. It was an art student. You know how those art students are.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah.
Thrash metal, German Teutonic thrash.
So are there other aspects of the satanic panic like emerging in Colombia right now? I mean, or in the area? Is it because you say that these religious groups are gaining power?
My biggest fear is that we actually have second satanic panic, because we had one during the 19th, and it was very, very dangerous to be a metalhead.
Yeah.
Back in the day, because
it was everywhere.
I don't know if you guys know this, but
yeah, but dangerous.
We have yes, because no, really. I mean, we had a serial killer here in Colombia during the 90s called Fernando Garavito. He raped, murdered almost 200 children between 1992 and 1998, right? But
God.
The police never suspected him. Yeah, they thought it was all the work of satanic groups. Yeah. So, where do you look for satanic groups? Among metalheads. So these guys started to actually persecute metalheads. There was some sort of satanic groups here, so they arrested them, interrogated them. It was very hard. I remember in 1998, I tried to join the Church of Satan, and I had a very unpleasant encounter with the local police because they came knocking on my door. I mean, just like that Kennedy's song, the Sweden Secret Police, knocking at your door because why are you writing to the Church of Satan? What is this? What's your relationship? And I happened to have a little homepage of my own back in 1998 in the old GeoCities website. It became the largest online repository of hypertext documents in Spanish related to the Church of Satan in Tonabay, right? So it was kind of famous. But I had my personal problems with the local police because the head of the secret police in Colombia was actually a Christian fanatic. Yeah, he saw the devil everywhere. He arrested metalheads. He put them in jail. We had certain problems until they even tried to. This is funny. They even tried to infiltrate metal shows to look for the heads of the satanic cults in Colombia. Until, no, really, I mean, there was news about this. Yeah. Concert of Testament in Bogota in May 1998. It was infiltrated by the local secret police to look for the heads of the satanic cults because there was a rumor that there would be a satanic gathering in a Testament show. Anyways, Anyway, this guy Garavito was arrested in 1998, and then and only then the police found out that all the 200 killings were made by one single man.
Jeez.
So they had to So they had to write a book about it called "The Great Failure of Our Law System or Police System." It's called like that. 200 children raped, mutilated, murdered, and no one was captured.
And the secret metalheads around and like infiltrating heavy metal scene to try to find the killer instead of actually doing some fucking police work because they were all spooked by their religious. Their minds were clouded by religious phantasms. That's such a shame. I mean, in Colombia, Colombia is on the world average is pretty has a history of violence, certainly. There's certainly seems to be a lot more that the special police or just the regular police would have to worry about rather than metalheads. I mean, with the cartels in I mean, all of that. So
Cartels, illegal armed groups, and crooked politicians. Yes, this is pretty hectic. This is hell here.
just let the kids listen to some fucking rock, guys, and go about cracking down on some real crime. But we see that here as well, and it's mind-boggling. Go ahead.
I said all too often.
Yeah. There's a term for it. I've heard, and of course I'm blanking on it now. But it's just where the police seem to go after. The police are more inclined to go after law-abiding people for trivial crimes than to actually put more effort into the more difficult stuff, because law-abiding people are going to more likely succumb to the pressure of the police. It's sort of like like gun laws, etc. I mean, gun laws affect people who are willing to bow to the government, and to that's only people that affects. Restricting access to firearms will only disarm the people who are not committing the crimes.
Yeah.
So,
well, because it's easy. It's an easy target, for them, and it makes them appear that they're doing something.
Yes,
they don't want to go after the dangerous criminals and crooked politicians, because that they might get killed. Who wants to have that job? Let's go after the metalheads, because they don't kill our families afterward. Daniel.
Okay.
Daniel, can you hear me? Over and out. I was interested in this. I wanted you to answer this question for me. What does Satan mean to you?
The question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, he's changing tacks a little bit. He's gonna shift the conversation a little bit. Why don't you ask me?
Yeah, I was interested in what Satan means to you.
Ooh. Well, kind of a hard question, because the meaning has changed and evolved over the years. But I have to answer from my professional academic background. What I really loved about Satanism when I covered it was the relationship with the Jungian concept of the shadow. Yeah, and for me, Satan will be like that inner dark part of the human unconscious. Reminds you of your animal nature. Your basic instincts are in there, and you have to exercise them from time to time. Culture gives you certain weapons to exercise. I mean, we are all potential assassins, but culture gives us the tools to sublimate these natural basic instincts, and that's why we have video games, so we can kill people and get our inner assassin to play a little bit. So yeah, basically for me would be the dark shadow lurking below the human unconscious.
Excellent.
That would be the meaning, and that is why I always found fascinating the concept of the ritual chamber and the ritual satanic ritual as a psychodrama, because I think it gives a healthy way to deal with your inner demons, your inner weaknesses, your inner strengths, and to basically vent your anger and your most powerful fearsome, dangerous feelings and emotions, and put them into positive use to just to say something. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That would be the meaning. Yes.
Awesome. Daniel, we want to thank you for coming on. Oh, shit. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It's more like a combination between that inner drive in human mind and that outer, let's call it force, but force more like a gravity, more like, thermodynamics, like a force in nature.
Force of nature.
I mean, that's where I can relate to that sentence in the Satanic Bible as the dark force that keeps nature in balance.
Awesome. Yeah. Very, very cool. Daniel, thank you for coming on the first episode of the Kevin Slaughter TDYK Takeover.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to The Devil You Know.
Yes.
And,
Can you tell us the name of your podcast again?
Oh, yeah.
So that people can check it out.
Familia Subterránea. We do Facebook Live every Thursday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah.
So if I go onto YouTube, and I search Familia Subterránea,
yes.
I'll find you.
Subterránea,
Okay.
you will find it.
You do the
with subtitles, hopefully.
Yeah.
What?
You do it live on Facebook and then you put it on YouTube?
Yes, we do it via Facebook and then we post it on YouTube.
Yeah. Daniel, mi amigo.
And if you listen to our show, if you watch our show regularly and you haven't bought at least half a dozen books from Underworld Amusements, you're not allowed to listen to us anymore.
You're not a Satanist.
I think I have one or two.
I have at least 4 bookmarks from you. I think a postcard.
Yeah.
Right. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you, John, Dorian. Thank you, guys, for having me on to guest host this with mi amigo Daniel. Daniel,
anytime, man.
Anytime.
As always, I appreciate you enlightening us about this insanity going on, this growing Christian dictatorship going on, and looks like he's done.
Oh, there he is. He's back. Man.
So much for coming on, and always good to see you and always good to talk to you. And
thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
The Devil You Know audience. I appreciate it.
Till next time, everyone, hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
It was a pleasure.